So we are continuing, right, the part 2 from Netivot Shalom, Parashat Re'eh, page Gimel this time. In a nutshell, a recap from last time. We said about that what shayach Re'iyah, right? Because the parasha starts with Re'eh, Hine Anochi noten lefnechem. And Hashem then, and Moshe actually speaking the commandments, right, and the rule and the restriction and the mitzvot and everything. So it should be listen, not look, not watch, right? And we said that there is a koach, there is a special strength to re'iyah, to see something and to know something by looking at it. Then we said that like the evil inclination takes his strength from looking. We look with our eyes, and then the heart developing the desires, and then the body continue and finish the job. So it's look like it's not a fair fight between faith and evil inclination. But it is a fair fight because we know that Hashem created the world with a perfect balance for free will. So the emunah, the faith, the belief that we have the same strength and the level like riyah, like looking with our eyes. And then we ask the question, and this is where we stop. Why we say Shema Israel Hashem Elokeinu? If until now we learn, and the Torah gave us other verses when it says Re'eh, I gave you the life and the death, right, and the blessing. So Kriyat Shema should also to be from the eyes, look, but it says Shema. So the reason here it says that when we say Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, it is the same thing as we say at the end of the davening, Alenu Leshabeach, that in the end we conclude with, and in that day would be one God. So that one God refers to all the nations. So that's why the Shmiah, the hearing, is referred not only to the Jews, because we are in a level of looking, of see Hashem, but also for the other nation, which is the same level of hearing. That one day Hashem will be, Bezrat Hashem, it will be very soon. Okay, we continue. V'yesh lomar od, and we should say furthermore, the clarity of our faith, it's in the same level as looking with the eyes. And the verse continue, the blessing that we should hear. It said the clarity in our faith, it's the source of the blessing that is standing and waiting for all the Jews in all condition, all situation, etc. Because something that we see with our own eyes, we will never forget. To the good and to the bad, unfortunately. Right? We saw nonsense that we saw 50 years ago, 40 years ago. We remember, we still remember. The eyes bring it to the brain, and the brain is keep it there, somewhere there, and we remember. And he says, so the looking and the eye, that we don't forget, is very clear. It's a very clarity, no doubts. Chas v'shalom. And this is what it says. Look, I'm giving you in front of you today the blessing. And that when a person have that merit to see Anochi, right? Because who is Anochi? Anochi is Hashem. So when he see that his faith is clear, like looking with his eyes. But he said, because if he's just believing, even a complete belief, but not in the same level as Re'iyah, as like we see, that fine, he have that faith, but when he have an isayon, when he have a test, something bad happened, maybe that belief will start to decline, to go down. And chas v'chalila, he can fall from the blessing to the cursing. But when you have a clarity in the same level as looking, as we know that there is a Hashem. It's impossible that everything was randomly happening. One cell started to divide himself or whatever, where the cell came from, who created that cell, etc., etc. So that faith, that belief in the same context or the aspect or the level of Re'eh Anochi, not only that he believed that in his eye that Hashem is our God, this is again a foundation, the main foundation of the existing of the entire Torah. And when you have that merit, to have that clear, then all the 613 mitzvot that included in the 10 commandments, right? People think that only the 10 commandments were given to us, but not, it's all the mitzvot, all the 613. And then they will be like in a different level. And you will have that strength to overcome all the tests and all the nisyanot that the life brings us. from the same strength that we see Hashem, that he took us out from Egypt and all the plagues and the Makot, etc. Right? As it says that the Rabbad wrote in the book the Baalei HaNefesh, right? He said that in Sof Sar Kedusha, and this is what he said. He said, a new human being, listen with your ears, open your eyes, and you will see like the image of your creator standing in front of you. But again, it's metaphorically, right? And he said that we saw and we heard about other Jews that were in such a high level that for them it was like looking in their own eyes to see that, right? That was the faith. And according to that, we can say that it's also hinted in the day, right? When it says, look, I'm giving it in front of you today, right? Hayom, the day. It says, and Deita b'midrash Tanchuma, אתם ניצבים היום כולכם לפני השם אלוקיכם. מה היום פעמים אפילו פעמים. So sometimes you're standing in front of Hashem today. Sometimes the day is getting darker, sometimes getting lighter, right? Night and daytime. So even when it is dark, I will light it for you. When? When you will all going to be together, one bundle. And in the same way, we can say the pasuk, right? So how Hashem is going to light the day when it's dark? By, see, Anochi, I am Hashem, right? When we see the 10 commandments, that we see that Hashem is actually give us the 10 commandments, and that's the foundation of our faith, the clear faith, even when it's dark. And by the way, another thing for Hayom, when it's referred to Hayom, the Zohar says, this is Rosh Hashanah. The day is Rosh Hashanah, the day of judgment. Crowning Hashem, but actually it's beginning of the judgment. Od merumaz, it's also hinted the day, right? Also for Shabbos Kodesh, shenikret Hayom, the day again. Because it says, Ki ichlu hayom ki Shabbat hayom l'Hashem. So it's not a contradiction, because actually the first Rosh Hashanah was on Shabbos. So ichlu hayom ki Shabbat hayom l'Hashem. The Shabbat Kodesh, a Jew can achieve the level of his faith that will be really clear, like looking with the eyes. And that's why it says in the verse, Re'u ki Hashem natan lachem ha-Shabbat. Because only with the Shabbat we can achieve the level of Re'u, in the same level as to hear. And this is what it says, Anochi noten lifnechem hayom. I am giving to you today. Because only in Shabbat we can achieve the 10 commandments and the entire Torah and the 630 mitzvot, etc., etc. And in the Shabbat Kodesh, he said here that we have the faith to be so clear in the same aspect as like looking from a transparent glass, that we see everything clearly. It's called aspaklaria meira. That when a person sees something with his eye, we just learn that we will never forget, but more than that, it's clear to him, like the day, the light of day, that this is it in front of our eyes. I'm looking at it, right? And this level you can achieve on Shabbat Kodesh, because the Shabbat is the soul, right? It's the soul for the entire creation. That's level. And from that strength of Shabbat, we all gain for the light, for the divine light. And furthermore, we can say, Lashon Re'iyah, when it says in Shabbos, Re'u ki Hashem natan lachem ha-Shabbat, that therefore he's giving you on the 6th day bread for 2 days, right? On Friday. Because the Shabbat itself, Shabbat Kodesh, it's also in the same level of looking with the eyes. It's like, that's the reality. And with our strength, we can see that Hashem gave us the Shabbos. This is what the sages, and that's why our sages say that if you put on a scale Shabbos, and at the other side of the scale, you're putting the entire Torah, right? That's equal, because the Torah is like the way of the Torah is the same way of the Shabbos, because Shabbos, it's Shabbos. According, right, against all the mitzvot and everything. But Shabbat itself is like a special reality in existence. And one that have that merit, and he see with his own eyes that reality of Shabbos Kodesh, that is something that there is something. It's not just a day that we're counting in the calendar, right? We actually feel it. Especially in Israel, we feel it. And Hashem gave us that strength to look with our eyes the existence of Shabbos. And therefore, he gave us bread or food for 2 days on Friday. Because on Friday itself, already they were starting to have the change of the reality, preparing for Shabbos. That's why Hashem could give us the food for 2 days, for the honor of Shabbos Kodesh. Because Shabbat is not only know, okay, today is Friday, tomorrow is Saturday, but we know that's the reality of Shabbos Kodesh. And bring here from the Gaon HaTzadik Rabbi Moshe Kliris, Zechon Tzadik Levacha, that when he came to Slonim, to the Rebbe, well, Baal Divrei Bet Avraham, I think. No, Baal Divrei Shmuel. So he came to the Rebbe, and he noticed that the Shabbases in Slonim, there are something that you can actually feel it with your own hands. You feel it, right? And we see, we have Shabbats, right? So it's not only the routine that we go, we daven, we go back from shul, we eat, we sleep, we learn, we wake up, we daven. We have a schedule, right? We have a schedule. We have something that you can really, and you feel. Sometimes I sit in shul, I look at everybody, and I feel like, wow, such a blessing. Mama, such a blessing. You're so lucky. So, and for that, this is the Katuv says, the verse says, I'm giving it in front of you today. And said, we need to explain what's the reason that the weekday, right, when somebody is like greeting his friend, in the morning he's telling him Safra Tava, right? That's in Aramaic, like good morning. And in the evening he's telling him good evening or good night, right? But in Shabbos Kodesh we don't say that. Whenever it is the daytime or at nighttime, right? We say Shabbat Tava, like a good Shabbos, or we say Shabbat Shalom. Doesn't matter if it's, we don't say in the morning good morning. We say good Shabbos, and in the evening good Shabbos, right? Why? Because the Shabbat, the entire day, is in the same day of the light. It's the same light, even at nighttime, divine light, spiritual light. That's why we always say Shabbat Shalom, no matter what the time of the Shabbat, right? From the nighttime that it's starting until the morning or the entire day. And this is what it says 3 times in Bakatuv, Echlu Hayom ki Shabbat Hayom Lashem, right? Either today, because today is Shabbat to Hashem, we will not find it in the field. And 3 times it's written because it's a hint for the 3 period of time of Shabbos, right? We have the nighttime, we have the morning time, and then we have the afternoon. But they're all in the same level of a day. And this is what it says also in the parsha, right? It says, Vayachulu 3 times. And it's also said Lashon Yom, right? V'yachal Elokim bayom hashvi, in the 7th day. Vayishbot bayom hashvi. Vayvarech Elokim et yom hashvi. Right? It always says day, 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 day. Of course, it's dark in Shabbat. Tomorrow night it will be dark, but we're not referring to that physical darkness. We're referring to the spiritual light. And the Shabbat is in the level of a spiritual light. And it's also a hint for the 3 parts of our souls. We have Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama. This is basically what we are connected to. And then we have the extra soul that we receive on Shabbos Kodesh. And then it will be all of these 3 parts of the Neshama, including plus the 4th one, which is the Neshama Yetera, the extra soul. They are also in the same thing like the night, the morning, and the afternoon time. And the light, Leil Shabbat Kodesh, it's the day, the night, right? Or the Leil Shabbat, it's in the same level of like the Nefesh, which is the lower part. Nefesh is what giving us the vitality, the hunger to eat, to drink, to sleep, right? That's the very basic level, like even animals have that. But in the daytime, in the morning, we are getting another step. And that level is like in the level of Ruach, like a spirit. And after that, in the time of a goodwill, which is called Ra'ava de Ra'avin, the time of of goodwill of Hashem, that's actually in the afternoon, after Mincha, that's in the level, like the 3rd level, which is the Neshama. Right? So he said, as we say in the song, Ka'ech Sof, right? A Shabbat Noam Neshamot, right? Ya'ech Sof, Noam Shabbat, right? Amat, right? We said Noam Neshamot, Vashvi, Oneg Aruchot, right? So the Shabbat is like the enjoyment and the pleasure of the souls. And the 7th day is the pleasure of the spirits and the Eden and Nefashot, right? So in that quote from the song is actually mentioning the Nefesh, the Ruach, and the Neshama. Because Shabbat Kodesh, it's a step. We're going up step by step by step. Nighttime, morning, and then afternoon. And the 3 steps of, or the 3 level of the Neshama. right? And the Shabbat itself. And that's why the Pasuk say today, 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 Hayom, Hayom, Hayom. Also hinted 3 times, the Yom that is mentioned in the Parashat Re'eh, right, today, this Shabbat, Re'eh Anochi Noten Lifnatchem Hayom. This is the Yom HaDinah, as we just said. Kimendaita, it says in the Zohar HaKadosh that the day, Hayom, is, when you bring from the Pasuk, V'yeh Hayom v'yavo b'nei ha'elokim l'yityatzeb al Hashem, V'yeh Hayom da Rosh Hashanah, right? So in the Sefer Iyov, in the book of Iyov, it also says today that when it was Rosh Hashanah, and all the angel and Hashem and the Satan came, then this is what started with Iyov, the whole story with Iyov. So the day that was Rosh Hashanah, the day of the judgment that starts. And the same way it says, Atem, right? It says in the verse in Parashat Nitzavim, Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem. Again, today, that's the same day. That's the Yom Hashem Agadol V'Anoah Rosh Hashanah. And also over there it says 3 times. Hayom Atem Nitzavim, Hayom Lo Avrecha Bavrit, Hashem Elokecha, Uva'alato Asher Hashem Koret Imcha Hayom. Right? 3 times it's mentioned. Leman Hakim Otcha. And some said, Yesh Lomar, also we can say, they are also aimed for the 3 Yamim HaNoraim. Right? Keneged HaShlashim, right? 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, which is the one long day, and the Yom HaKippurim. Right? We said 10 days, but actually the 3 main days are the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom HaKippurim. Right? And against them, we have the 3 times in the parasha that is mentioning today. And that's the main avoda of these holy days. From Tammuz, actually, we started. The time of the fasting, destruction of Bet HaMikdash, but we learned that the main goal of these days in Tammuz is actually to start the tshuva. We shouldn't wait for Elul. We should start thinking about tshuva, and then we have Chodesh Av, right, which we're finishing. And then we have Elul now is coming. And Elul is the day that we're starting the Sfaradim, starting the Slichot and everything, right? And then the Ashkenazim before Rosh Hashanah. So it's like a preparation. And again, and it's all built up. Like, for example, we have the prophecies of the destruction, right? The set prophecies of the Puranut that started from Tammuz. And then we have the 7th one with the Nechama, right? With the comfort one that heaven. And it's all building up for the time of the tshuva. From middle of, right, Tammuz till middle of Av. And then we have Tu B'Av, which is actually Happy Day, but we should not forget the tshuva process that we do. And now we have Elul again. And Elul is bringing us to Rosh Hashanah. And this is how we started with the word Re'eh, because our faith should be in the same level of looking with our eyes, how Hashem build up everything and how it's all very complex, but in the same time, it's also very simple. We have Hashem, He gave us the Torah, we need to follow Him. Good Shabbos.
Excellent.
Shabbos.
Nice.